Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Maybe not good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but you are somewhere, someplace in time listening to All Angles Asked with D. Grant Smith and myself, Ray Gage. Welcome to this episode. It's been a minute since we've talked, D.
Yeah, holidays came and went and started the new year and getting our ducks in a row and our feet underneath us and trying to figure out, not trying, doing life. And here we are.
Yep. Here we are sitting here as a Indiana Hoosier fan celebrating
Congratulations.
the incredible turnaround for one of the worst football programs in college football history
Mm,
and seeing them win the national championship with a 16 and 0 record, first 16 and 0 record since I believe it was 1894. And I think it was either Yale or Harvard that did it, but we don't have that many games in a season anymore until now
mm,
with the new college football playoff format. So it's been an exciting season for IU fans because it used to be just basketball was all you really had to
mm.
cheer for. So I have a son that's an IU grad as well, so there's a lot of cool emotions around that for those of us that have followed the futility as long as we have. So anyway, but yeah, lots
Well,
of things
that
going on in the world and lots of things going on in our minds and some shifting in the way a lot of us feel about the I don't know if you want to say like the planet as a whole, but
mm,
there seems to be a lot of people that are experiencing I don't know maybe some discomfort, like it doesn't feel comfortable because it's no longer as familiar as it used to be.
yeah, definitely.
And some of that safety, that disappearance of feeling of safety, can create some fear, which is interesting because the reason that we create safety is because we are fearful. So,
Mhm.
like we're caught in this big, circle loop thing. But any ideas on maybe something as a subject that we could tackle for today, since it's been a little bit?
Well, I think that I mean, things are shifting, yes, but they have been for a long time. And actually, I think they've always been shifting. When has anything ever actually just stayed in one place? Like the nature of atoms and quarks and molecules and life as a existence, like, is about shifting and moving and energy. Um, but I think that you tapped into something there about shifts happen that cause some people to panic and be worried and be fearful and anxious, and when that wave starts going and moving, then that increases and swells and gets bigger, and then it starts to influence the way that other people feel, and then that continues to grow and increase. And there's an opportunity to not tap into the swelling of the anxiety and the fear, and instead sit back and observe and be curious and ask questions. Um, and wonder, like, okay, well, has something like this happened before? Yes, thousands of times. Okay. What was the what were some of the predominant messages that were being communicated at that time? That everything's over, that we're all going to go to hell, that it's the end of the world, like that, the bad guys win, we're totally screwed, we've got to hunker down and like protect ourselves and all this stuff. Okay. How many times did that actually happen? Very, very few. Okay. Because actually, in some ways, not at all. Like things end, sure, but like the fact that you and I are sitting here in 2026 is evidence that like the world's kept spinning and societies have kept going, and we haven't had to rebuild from nothing. Um, so yeah, maybe we talk about change, maybe we talk about life, maybe we talk about how being curious about things instead of becoming influenced by craziness is actually a possibility.
That conversation could go a lot of different interesting places just with you saying that. It's just like because all of a sudden then like it's like one of those well, like my mind just went, oh man, that could be fun, but wait a second. I mean, we could start, we're going to start here, we're going to end up there, but then we're going to come back over here, just like kind of like what we always do.
Why not?
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting because you brought it up, this is your fault.
Okay, good. I take responsibility.
Is the way that we think, and I had this conversation with a friend yesterday. One of the things that I've started to try to be more cognizant of is when we talk about the way we perceive things as they are and the way they really are,
Hmm.
and how some people would want to call this the devil. Like some people would
Hmm.
want to call it the deceiver. Some people will call it I
The
call it the
enemy.
ego, right?
Hmm.
But we all call it the enemy, but I call it the ego. And it's part of the ego's deception is that when I hear something that sounds like it's like recycled from somebody else, and so we look at it as wisdom, and like, wow, that really makes sense. And what I've started doing recently is asking, where is the sleight of hand here?
Hmm.
Because the ego has been running the greatest con ever, and it's not planning to stop anytime soon. So what are we not recognizing? Where are we not seeing the con because we've bought into it so deeply that we can't see the con anymore?
Hmm.
It just looks like normal for us now because we've bought into it. That's the ultimate deception. That's the ultimate con. And one thing that I think is really interesting is I'm a firm believer in, you could, if you want to call it absolute truth, you can. I'm a firm believer that there's a truth with a capital T,
Hmm.
and that truth with a capital T doesn't change. It can't, or it couldn't be truth. It couldn't be the truth.
Hmm.
So the truth, the reality, like, if it's real, it doesn't change. If it's true, it doesn't change. Because if it changes, it can be threatened. If it can be threatened, it's
Hmm.
fear based. If
Hmm.
it's fear based, it's part of the con because there's no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear. God
Hmm.
has not given us the spirit of fear. You can go down that road all day long, right? But the point is that if it changes, it's not true. As far as truth goes, like truth just is, right? Truth is
Hmm.
and is, just like God is and is, just like
Hmm.
love is and is. So if I see it, or my perception of something is that it changes, like, so my truth can't be different than your truth and it be the truth.
Hmm.
Because then
Subjectively or objectively?
both, because I've attached ownership to it at that point in time.
Ah, okay.
And if I attach ownership to it, then it's no longer the truth. I've made it mine, which is, that's the other part of the deception, is the belief that we are separate.
Hmm. Yep.
So when I attach words like mine and yours, all I'm doing is buying into the hoax of separation. So my truth and your truth are different, then neither one of them is the truth. But I'll die on my hill and you'll die on yours.
Every time you're talking, the more we're digging deeper into this, the first thing that popped into my head when you said the illusion, the sleight of hand is what you said. I first thought of the opening scene to The Prestige, one of my favorite movies, because the whole movie is set up basically in that one moment of there's this thing that you think is happening, and the magician is showing you this one thing on purpose because he wants you to think that you've got it figured out. But as you think that you've got it figured out, there's actually a whole nother trick that's going on behind the scenes. It's actually right under your nose, and it's not where you think it is under your nose. It's in a different place. And then when you see it, you're like, oh, how did that happen? And that's that's what ego has been doing to humanity since I guess two people were in a garden and a conversation about trees and fruit.
Exactly. So Genesis, that's another episode, but the difference between the creation account in Genesis 1 and the creation account in Genesis 2, that the but that's where I think that if we look at, I call it different things, right? But it's because I'm just labeling it because that's how we tell the difference between things in the consciousness in which we are as form. We give them labels, right? So we know what to call them. Like I know if I tell you that Corvette is red, you automatically have a picture in your head of a red Corvette. Well, how does that happen if I don't assign a label to a red Corvette?
Mm,
So I'm going to call it the great deception. Like that's the ego's con. And that the con that started running in the garden, if you want to call it that, the Garden of Eden, and what that looks like today is not much different than what it looked like then. It's when you start to question the things that you think you see, then the answers that come to you, if you're open to it, will change your view of everything.
mm,
And some people would refer to that like oh you're talking all woo woo, right? Like this doesn't make any sense. I mean, we know that the Bible says this, or we know that this happened, or we know that this is what this means, or this is what's supposed to be coming next. I mean, all of those things, right? That were, but like, no, 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 not really, because somebody had to take control of us in order for this con to work. The con doesn't work without control. The con
mm,
doesn't work without turning everyone into sheep for for an example, right? I mean, there's different ways you can look at sheep as well, but the way that we think of sheep are just, we're just being led to the slaughter, basically, is what I'm getting at with that. So, like, but how do I control? Like, I have to have fear to control. So, how do I take something that was meant as consciousness and turn it into fear so that I now can use it to control?
mm. How to take something that was meant for awareness, conscious awareness, and turn it into fear so that control can take place and some sort of something can be manipulated.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like thinking of it like like with a child's mind almost. So, like, can I see God?
Hmm.
Well, no. I mean, even the Bible says no man has seen God, right, at any time. So, what is God? Then, well, he's spirit. Well, now I'm trying to label. I'm trying to place a label again. If I say that, what God is not, God is love, but what is love, right? It's divine consciousness. Well, what is consciousness? Can I see consciousness?
Hmm.
No, I
No.
can't. So I have to figure out how to give it form because if I can't give it form, I can't weaponize it. If I can't weaponize it, I can't use it for control.
Is there also a matter of what if we took the giving it form for control? What if we took the control part out and the fear part out, and we said we're giving it form so that we can know it on a deeper level, and it can be something that is understandable and personal and um, uh, more a part of us,
The
like more
struggle,
known. I guess that's
yeah.
it.
Well, what's the struggle with that though? Like, where does the struggle come in with that?
uh, Multiple interpretations of what that means.
So there I have now I have deciding what's true for me and what's not true for me.
So we're back to capital T truths and lowercase t truths. Okay.
I mean, does that make, do you see that or is that
Yeah. So then where does the kind of ubiquitous, like capital T truth that expands and stretches out across all of humanity that is undeniable? Where does that come in without there being an element of fear and control?
the the struggle? I think the reason why that's such a struggle is because we forgot what truth is.
Hmm.
And because it seems to us that it happened so long ago, it's hard to remember. And
Okay.
you used the word when we before we got on the air, you used the word mysticism.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of times that the mysticism is given a negative connotation, especially by those that are. I'll say, I'm chuckling at the word that popped into my head that, to those that are hell bent on control.
Hmm.
And I say the reason I'm chuckling is because the reason that they're hell bent, but one of the things that they use for control is hell. So if I'm looking, if you take mysticism, so define mysticism, and how would you define mysticism for somebody who doesn't maybe already have a preconceived notion of what it might be?
Mysticism is about seeing the unseen um in in the ways that God moves, both um in a kind of metaphoric way and understanding metaphoric illustrations and making intangible things become more tangible and more real without it necessarily having to be a like a literal explanation or translation.
So could you also say, like when I hear you say that, then the first thing that pops into my head is that if I wanted to say that basically really all it is understanding consciousness.
Yeah.
I
Seeing
just
the unseen. Yeah.
seeing the unseen and maybe I have to use the things that I see with my senses as reference points to help point me along the way. Right? But the reason
Yeah.
that they're there is that's the reason that those things are there is they're trying to lead me back to consciousness
Hmm.
instead of what the ego's done. The sleight of hand is use them to make me fearful.
Hmm.
Because if I'm afraid of it, then I'm not going to follow it back to consciousness because fear is keeping me from doing that. So when a lot of people talk about mysticism and it has this, I don't know, to me it used to be for me too, just because of the way that I was raised and what I was taught that, like, you got to stay away from that stuff. That's just that's of the devil or whatever you want to say, the different religious
Hmm.
circles and, and even demon worship. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff you're told about, mysticism. And really, it's like, why wouldn't I want to encourage the understanding of consciousness? The only reason I can think of is because then the whole system that I've built around fear and weaponized for control collapses.
Yeah, if the things that have been told to us as being evil and of the devil are not actually that, if they're actually stuff that God uses and actually a part of God and the way that things work, then then well, the thing that you do anyways about questioning everything gets blown up in Hiroshimic proportions.
Yeah. Well, so that's where uh, my mind has been in that space quite a bit recently. And I mean, because I can feel myself, kind of like a shitty grin because it just to me it's so amusing when you finally see it and you start to realize that you don't need to be afraid. It's it's almost like it's amusing. It's almost amusing
Hmm.
that like really I've spent, I'm 58 years old. I mean, I've spent how many years fearing something that didn't deserve my attention at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and so a lot of people might think that, well, that's depressing. No, it's not really. Try it. It's actually kind of freeing. So
Hmm.
that's where that's where my mind has been a lot. So what are some of your thoughts on that? Because that was like totally a bomb. We haven't talked about that before we had this episode. So
No, I appreciate it. Like, I mean, like you, uh, I grew up hearing from church, and I mean, I went to a religious school from sixth through 12th grade, and then I went to a Church of Christ college, even though it wasn't Church of Christ. Uh, but like the religiosity of things that I've has been told to me about, like this is good, this is approved, this is not, and then to kind of go through my own process of just kind of questioning, like, is this stuff that I've been told is like evil, really evil? Now, I'm not questioning necessarily like Satan worship or anything like that, but the idea of like mysticism in particular was something that I didn't have an understanding of what it was. It was just one of these like black card words that was thrown into this box of these things are of the devil, anything that had to do with anything that wasn't being done in this like very strict religious Christian church setting. And but even then, I mean, I spent years in a very charismatic church where people were speaking in tongues constantly and falling in the floor and all kinds of miracles and stuff being done. And there was a period of time years before that where I thought all of that was crap. And so here I am. I was a young 20-something-year-old guy, and I'm watching, people being healed from epilepsy and different physical illnesses and stuff like that. And it was very, very wild to witness. But there was a part of me that was really curious, like, are these people acting? Because this doesn't look like a theatrical performance. This seems like a real sort of thing. And then there was some after experiencing some miraculous stuff, then it almost seemed like some of those same kind of people felt like they had to kind of perform a show at times to get people interested in the movement of what was going on. And I would kind of question the legitimacy of some of the things that they were doing. So I can see why there's suspicions around some things that people do that are out of the ordinary or outside the box. But it got me into this phase of being curious, like you and I talk about all the time. And so I've what it ended up happening for me was I got really curious about my own pain. And when I went through divorce in 2017, like I really started looking at my life in a different way. And I came into a greater awareness that I'd actually brought a lot of I brought the pain upon myself. I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but my consciousness was in this painful place, and that was all that I focused my energy on. And there was a period of time in my teens where like my favorite music was all just very angry and hateful and just pain induced. My favorite movies were there's a movie that I used to be obsessed with that was about a guy that got killed with his fiance and then was brought back from the dead to enact vengeance on those that killed him. The movie's The Crow. And I was obsessed with this movie.
Okay.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
It was Brandon Lee's final movie. I was kind of all into Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee for the longest time, but like it was not surprising to me to be again in my early 20s and questioning myself like, why do I have this disdainful, depressing attitude towards myself and other people? And then to get into my mid 30s and still look back at life and be like, why? And then to understand consciousness and that word being brought into my foray and mysticism and spirituality and to read the Tao Te Ching and realize that it wasn't this, book of magic and spells and stuff. It was actually, written by Lao Tzu and like 2 or 3 thousand years before Jesus walked around, and it'd be a book of wisdom, but it'd be about like identifying consciousness. The Tao that can be named is not the Tao. Like we think we can understand God with our finite little human minds, and that's not what our finite little human minds are for. We get to co-create and collaborate and co with God, and it be something that we can't figure out how to do it, and and try to turn it into some sort of science project. There's not some sort of perfect equation. Like I spent a lot of time in the manifestation community learning about all that stuff, and there's consciousness that's in all that stuff too. But that's kind of trying to, uh, a lot of it's trying to figure out like some sort of science, some sort of perfect equation to create all these things that I feel like are missing in my life. But what I'm actually doing is creating more of the thing that I think that I'm missing, the more that I'm focused on that. So all of this to to say that like I think that what can help people go in a direction of understanding that they're more than what they think they are, and that the fear that they feel and the anxiety that they feel and the control that they try to have to make everything make sense is actually just what you and I talk about all the time, which is what would happen if you got just a little bit curious about this? What would happen if
Mhm.
you asked some questions instead of always looking for answers? And what if you asked the questions instead of somebody else having to ask those questions for you in order to feel like, what if you gave yourself, when I gave myself permission to ask questions and then to read something that like I had kind of like I can't touch that stuff because that's evil. Well, what happened if I read it and it didn't kill me? What if I read something? I'm thinking of like I dove into the early 1900s stuff written in the New Thought movement. Claude Bristol, Napoleon Hill, I guess, is technically in that. Um, Edgar Holmes, Edgar Holmes, Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn, these people. And they didn't talk about anything complicated. They basically said stuff like, "Hey, what you think is true is true. That's what you're going to discover." But it's lowercase t truth.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You're going if you pursue this, you'll find the capital T truth, and you'll be like, why was this outside of my awareness this whole time? But it was actually right in front of me. I just couldn't see it.
Here's another. Well, I love that. That's a great segue. It was there the whole time. I just couldn't see it. So, what is the, and then this is a trick question. I'm
Hmm.
going to tell you up front. This is a trick question because this is something else that I was in this whole conversation I'm having with myself about truth and how truth is, and it's not different, right? If it's different for you than it is for me, then it's not truth. It's not the truth. What is the opposite of true?
Is there an opposite of true?
No, that's the trick. See, this is like we think that the opposite of true is false. Like just like the opposite of love is hate or fear, whatever you want to say, or the opposite of good is bad, or the opposite of right is wrong. It's like we
Hmm.
have to, it's like those are labels that we have to help us define what the opposite is of something.
Hmm.
When in, the reality is that if you either have truth, capital T, or you don't. So the quote unquote opposite of truth isn't really an opposite, it's an absence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
it's
heard
like,
Wayne.
yeah, what you
No, no, no,
said
keep going.
right before you said that, right? Okay, so I'm think of it like this. I'm sitting here in front of a Zoom camera on the computer talking to you, right? If all of a sudden I'm not there, I'm just not there. There's not an opposite to that. It's there or it's not there. Well, if truth is an absolute, then the absence of truth is nothing.
So I heard Wayne Dyer say, I think you know where I'm going to go with this. He said, there's only God and there's only love. You're either moving in the direction of it or you're not. And so when we see and when we see and hear about, terrible things happening, people dying, incredible poverty, destruction, all these like people turning against each other and stuff like that's not that it's not a duality sort of thing. It's not a separation sort of thing. It's people moving in the opposite direction of love, people moving in the opposite direction of God. And so we're either harmonizing or we're not.
Yeah. So the uh, to kind of to go along with that. So A Course in Miracles says that the um, fear. So fear and love are not technically opposites. But where fear is, there's not love. And so fear is the absence of love just as much as love is the absence of fear. But if love is the absolute, then fear doesn't exist in truth. Fear doesn't exist in reality. I mean, the Bible says it very clearly as well. God is love. You know, there's no fear in love. Perfect love casts out all fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear. I mean, these are not. This isn't rocket science, right? We've just tried to make it harder than it is.
Mm.
So if what I see is fear, I'm seeing nothing. I think I'm seeing something because my senses are telling me that it's there.
And if we trust our senses as the only basis for reality, then we don't actually know what reality is.
We don't. Because the reality is like there's only God. The reality is there's only love. So if I see something that I perceive as different than those two things, what am I really seeing? I'm not seeing anything at all.
So the immediate thought that comes up is, so would you deny the fact that three people were killed last night in Baltimore, Maryland, in a drug shooting of blah 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 blah, and that one of those people were a small child? Like, are you denying that that happened, Ray?
Yes.
How can you deny that that happened? There's been witnesses and evidence and dead bodies, and how can you deny that that's true?
It's all based on sensory perception. I have to believe that everything that I see and perceive with my senses is true, and I don't believe that.
So basically, you're saying that you live in a state of denial.
Yep. That we have been since the Garden of Eden. When we believed in separation, we've been living in a state of denial. We are denying the truth, capital T.
So if if what you're saying, and I'm playing devil's advocate here,
I
if
understand.
if what you're saying is capital T true, then everything in the world is lowercase t true or isn't true at all and it isn't actually real. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely is.
So then what is real?
Love.
And what does that mean?
The search for the meaning of love is part of the ruse. Like I
The
have
sleight of
to,
hand?
as if I have to define it. Well, how am I supposed to define it with the limitations that I have? That's not that you're asking me to define what does absolute mean. What is the meaning of absolute, right? So if you say, well, God is everywhere, then where is he not? If you say God is all powerful, then where is he weak? If if you say God knows everything, then what's his secret? And so the only way that it can be hidden from him is if it isn't real. The only thing where it appears that God is doing something that is hurtful to someone else is it can't be real. Otherwise, the God that we all believe in is a piece of shit asshole. And I am going to deny that always.
So what is pain? Is it not real?
No, pain is not real. Pain is imagined. It changes. If it changes, it's not real. If it changes, it's not true. It didn't hurt yesterday, but it hurts today and it doesn't hurt tomorrow. It was never real.
So what is it when it's hurting?
It's me believing that it's real.
Is that the same for any feeling?
The way that most people define feelings is based on emotion, right? So I think that in that case, yes, because if I feel like, so most of the time, the feelings that I have, like, tell me a time when you don't have a feeling that's not attached to a body or a form.
So emotional or um like kinesthetic or whatever you would define like a physical sensation.
Anything like, so if I'm like, the next time you have an emotion about anything, ask yourself, you know, what am I attaching this emotion to? Because it's attached to something. Emotion is
Hmm.
always attached to something. It's attached to, an event, it's attached to an experience, it's attached to a person, but it all comes back to the body. Like that person did this, right? Well, is that who that person really is? Like if I think that all I am is a body, then what's the point of anything? If I
Hmm.
believe that I'm not, that this is just the manifestation, quote unquote, of the spirit form right now in this moment, then why do I worry about anything that has to do with this temporary manifestation in light of eternity? It's like I like to say, like, why do we get upset about anything that happens in life when we know when the ending is not a surprise? We spend so much of our time here in this, what we view as our existence within bodies, worrying about bodies that just disappear, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It's like, if I think that's all that there is, then that's fine. Then we need to quit pretending that there's something else. But if I believe that there's more than that, then and that this is such a finite piece of the overall existence of anything, then why is all of my focus attached to it and its counterparts?
You're reminding me of a different movie now, which
I'm asking
isn't
questions and then
surprising.
like I like to say that, right? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just here to challenge assumptions. Like, have you ever thought about this before? Because when I think about it, I'm like, you know. So,
Well, the thing about, what is real and what isn't real, hear a story about this, people testify about something terrible happened. Is it real? No. Um, it's Neo talking to the Oracle and the spoon, if this were a spoon. It's not about bending the spoon, it's realizing the spoon isn't real.
there you go. And I built this like the I build the walls. I build the belief. I build that those are things that I built and believed. But that was a choice that I had. It's a choice that I continue to have. And it's the belief the free will is there's a lot of time, a lot of people talk about, well, we have this free will or free agency. Well, the agency that I have is I get to choose between love and fear. I get to choose between heaven and hell. But those are not future choices. Those are right
Present
now
day. Yeah.
choices.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's the agency that I have that was given to me by my creator. I do have that choice. But though that's the choice. Right? The choice isn't between, the choice isn't the menu at Cheesecake Factory, right? That's like 45 pages long. Like, that's not the choice that I have. The choice that I have is I choose love or I choose the absence of love.
Hmm.
I choose heaven or I choose the absence of heaven. That's the choice. And that's the same choice. It's just said differently.
Hmm.
It's really that simple. It's not that easy because of all of the barriers that we've allowed to be put in the way to blind us to the truth of the choice.
Yeah.
It's like you say, well, are you telling me my pain isn't real? I'm not telling you it doesn't feel real. I would never tell you that your pain doesn't feel real to you. But I am telling you is that in eternity, it doesn't even exist. It's difficult to see when you're feeling pain. I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not trying to discount, that side of it, right? Like, it's like well, you're just ridiculous if you feel pain. That's not what
Mm.
I'm saying. Like, I want to make sure that I'm clear about that because people could be well, man, that's really insensitive. But it's not about that, right? It's about the understanding that, like, if it's not real, then why have I attached so much to that thing? Because if it's pain, it's fear. If it's fear, it's not, it doesn't exist in love. And if the only thing that exists is God and God is love, then how can that pain be real in truth?
Mm.
So does that help with that kind of the circle, bring it back
Yeah.
together a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I think your explanation was very good, very timely.
So, and I gotta, I have to remind myself to say this all the time now because the it, it's like anyone else that, like, even Wayne Dyer, you talk about some of the people that were like considered pioneers in this type of thinking, and Wayne Dyer is one of the big ones that comes to mind. He didn't have this understanding the day he was born. He did not have this understanding when he was 10, when he was 20, when he was 30. I mean, a lot of people that that came into this understanding. It's a process that they have gone through, and
Hmm.
they never stopped. I mean, I don't think he stopped until he wasn't here to keep going.
Yeah.
And like, and it's so many times we forget that I didn't know what I didn't know until I realized that I didn't know it. And so, like, now that I know it, then it's wrong for me to just assume then that everyone else must know it too.
Yeah. And
So,
to be critical of those that they can't see.
right, it's not about that at all. I mean, guys, I what I want to do is like I just want to hold space for those people. We've talked about that before too. It's
Hmm.
like, like this it's so freeing when you start to view through a different perception that broadens your horizon for everyone and makes it it makes it more alive. And I just want to hold that space for people. Like, I'm not going to, like you said, well, are you saying that that didn't happen? I think, no, I'm saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying that the people that are affected by it don't feel anything. All I'm saying is that that it's not real. We've assigned reality to it, but it can't be real if it's not God and it's not love.
Okay, so you have just, I don't know, we have enough time to explore what you just cracked open. The the difference between reality and assigned reality.
Why am I assigning reality? Like, what is the difference to you? What's the difference between the two? Because there's a term for it. So why is there a term for it?
Uh, My perspective is it goes back to the fear and control stuff
Okay, that's perfect.
because
Yeah, that makes sense.
because um, if love is, and that's all that is, then the perception of anything else has to have some sort of agenda behind it. And if something has an agenda behind it, there's fear that's driving that thing, and then there's a reason for that that maybe I can understand, maybe it gets revealed, maybe it doesn't. But instead of questioning what is, what ends up happening is I end up questioning what love is. And if I'm questioning what love is, but I'm questioning it from a place of fear, and the fear is driving the questions instead of the curiosity about I just want to know you more. Like in a relationship, you can ask somebody questions because you want to know them more because you're deeply in love with them, and that love is leading you to explore unknowns together and discover things together. Or you can be in a relationship and there can be fear that's conscious and unconscious that you're aware of and that you're not aware of, but you're asking questions trying to like hold them into some sort of um, way of the relationship going or being or whatever. And those are two different ways of existence. So um, so my explanation would is not necessarily an explanation. It's more of a zoom out, look at it like, okay, if love is all that is, then anything that's trying to bring control um, or fear into the equation, I got to be curious about that.
Yeah. Actually the thing, as I remind myself of this often, because I think if we could really, if anybody could actually grasp this in its entirety, that it would probably change consciousness for the whole. And that is the opening basically lines of Miracles, or A Course in Miracles,
Mm,
where it says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So if I look at it something as something that can be threatened, it
it's not
doesn't
real.
exist.
Yeah.
There's a flaw in my perception if I see it as something that can be threatened. That's all it is. It's a flaw in my perception. It's I didn't sin. It was just a mistake because a mistake is a flaw. It's not like I'm not going to go to hell because I sinned. Like I'm mistaken in my perception. That's all it is.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see it correctly.
I just didn't see it. I didn't see the reality of it. I saw the assigned reality of it.
So now we're in, are we looking at, is what we're looking at what's really there, or is what we're looking at an illusion?
If it can be threatened, then it's an illusion. If fear exists anywhere in it, it's an illusion. So back to your prestige example
Hmm.
with the magician, the sleight of hand.
Hmm.
Fun. It's a fun conversation. I just to me, like I'm having a lot of fun with the conversation. I don't know if you are, but I am.
Oh, you know I am. Come on.
I just had to say it. So
You're
I,
hilarious.
I wonder, like, like to be, there's so much that can open up, right? If I'm willing to think about the things that I think about and not really think of it from the perspective of um, the thought itself, but the thinker. So, like, I see, I think I'm the thought. Most of the time, I just think I'm the thought, but I don't realize I'm actually the thinker. And so the power that I have to see it differently is absolute because of where it comes from. That otherwise I wouldn't have the choice between love and fear. I wouldn't have the
Mm.
choice between heaven and hell and what I choose to see. I'd just be here for what? I don't know. What's the point?
I think that's a pretty good place for us to kind of wrap up our conversation for today. Um, so this, as always, Ray, it's been too long since we've done this, but also like thank you for you said earlier you love just holding space for possibilities and for questions and um thanks for I think I feel like this was probably maybe one of the first episodes where we really dove deeper into exploring all angles of something.
Yeah,
I
and
think we both have asked more questions.
we probably
Yeah.
didn't even hardly scratch the surface, but I hope for people who are willing to listen to the whole thing that it can be very freeing if you let it.
Yeah.
We've been scared long enough.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, thank you for participating and being a willing guinea pig to the questions that I posed.
Anytime, my friend. Anytime.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, and until next time, Dee and Ray signing off.